Hello and welcome to the On The Rise live stream with Denon DJ, product specialist and trainer Matt Reay. We're going to be going through the Prime Series. We were hoping for the V12, but we have got an amazing setup, and Matt's going to run through all of that with us, showcasing what it can do, what it's all about. Please feel free to drop any questions in the comments and let us know as we go through the live stream. And let us know what you're thinking, what you want to know, and we'll take it from there. So, Matt, when you're ready. Oh, and of course, yes, we've got a competition. So we're going to give away some Denon DJ headphones to one lucky winner that's here now. Yeah, don't all cheer at once. And also on the live stream, we are going to give away a custom-made Denon DJ sweatshirt.
One of a kind.
Look at that. What a pro.
One of a kind.
He's got those already as
well. One of a kind.
Good work, mate. Good work. Okay, so we'll have details of those as we go through the live stream. But for now, I'm going to hand you over to the capable hands of Mr. Matt Reay. And, yeah, all yours, mate.
Excellent. Okay, so as Jay said, my name's Matt Reay. I'm the UK and sometimes European product specialist for Denon DJ. Obviously very busy on the Prime Series. I work with, retail partners, and then also obviously things like education, so that's why I'm down here today, and then also some artists' work as well. Like as Jay said, the whole vibe of this is, this is making a bit of noise at the moment, the Prime Series, and it's all about just, I want as many people to experience this as possible and answer some questions you got, and just give you a whole rundown of what it can do, and then later on, I'll get you guys on this. And then obviously, you probably have a few questions as well. Okay, cool. So, from the top, we'll start with the Prime setup. So this is our flagship series. So most guys will know Denon. We have a range of controllers, the MC series, or Serato controllers. And obviously guys who are of a certain age may remember Denon from a certain era, always known as being great sounding, great build. And then recently there was a, change in ownership, and that's where we get that Prime series from now. So we're going to dive straight into this. So let's start with the SC5000. This is our flagship media player. So what makes this thing tick, what is kind of under the hood of this, is a quad-core processor, essentially. And the first thing to talk about is going to be the screen. I'm guessing you guys can see this on the feed here. Obviously, you'll see it close up in person later. We have what's called a multi-touch, multi-gestural screen. So you'll see me now on the screen there, just going through crates, playlists, our search, and even our root folder directories. But not only is this touch capable, we can also swipe through our tracks as well. Our second swipe feature would be the loading of the track. So obviously I can use the encoder in the more traditional way, but if I want to load a track, I can simply do this motion, swipe right, and we'll load it into the deck. If I go back to my crate here and swipe left, what happens then is that track then goes into our prepare panel, essentially. So if I tap down here to our prepare panel, and that's another cool thing about this, there's a lot of things that really kind of feed into what I would call, it's kind of a core ethos of DJing, really. The prepare panel is stylized, and you'll see this later, to look like your 12-inch vinyl sticking out the crate, truly old school. And you'll see in there, it's that Cosmos track shed, that's in my prepare panel. So let's get into what this can do. So, I mentioned touchscreen capabilities. We can also pinch and zoom our waveform using this as well, just by using this. But also using the encoder, just like that. So I'm going to run off the track. So you see this is track fully beat gridded, key information, tempo. Now we have our own music management system called Engine Prime. The SC5000s run essentially an embedded version of Engine Prime. It's one for one how the software looks. So this has all been run through Engine Prime. Obviously we can organise our crates and playlists, cue points, loops, all the stuff that you'd want essentially. So that's kind of 101 really. Number of ways that the touchscreen interacts, we can also needle search with the track, just like that. I'll run it off again. Also there's very little things we can do. So let's say we can adjust the time descending or ascending just by a touch, and then engage the quantize on and off, run continuous play for those moments where you've got to step out, Okay, Okay, so let's move to our search features. So you'll see on here, we have a number of filters. We have our genre, artist, album, BPM, and key. And again, all touch enabled. Tap on QWERTY search. You can see there, wonderful QWERTY search. The great thing you can do with this is, if you're searching key, we can search matched and compatible keys as well. And you can choose whether you show it in Camelot or traditional music as well. But that's a great feature to implement in terms of quick thinking moments. It's a great feature. I use it quite a lot, to be fair. So, also, there's filtering available on touch as well. You'll see on the screen there, we can filter by album, artist, track, BPM, and key. So there's a lot you can interact with in the touch. If I go back to view now, we can switch between those two modes. So our passing waveform, and then our menus as well, or our crates and playlists. So, the first thing you'll kind of notice about this, if we go below the jog wheel here, is straight from controllerism, we've got a pad mode section there. So if anyone's used Serato or any other music platform like that, you'll see this will be immediately familiar. So, run to our waveform there as well. If I run to this part of the track here, we've got hot cues. 8 available, and import them just like that, and then shift will remove them. We've also got familiar features from things like Serato. We've got our loop modes available on our 8 pads. So I'll engage a loop now, and then again shift will remove it. Roll feature, now this is a really fun one. You'll notice we've got purple pads, and we've also got green pads as well. Now the green pad's going to represent the quarter note rolls. Purple will be the triplet rolls. Now the best way to demonstrate that is essentially we mix them up a little bit. So we'll just use the green ones. You see there, all quarter notes. Now if we hear the triplets, there you go. So it's a nice tension and release kind of thing, I tend to think. So I skip through a little bit there and then roll it here. So slicer mode. Again, this is something to be familiar to you. We've got 2 modes, regular slicer and the loop slicer as well. So in a regular slice mode, it's going to follow the track along in these beat increments. So if we skip back to it, there's a bit more action. And go back to our slicer mode, you'll see it running along the track there. Using the parameter arrow back and forth, I can adjust the increments of the slice. Tap it again, and then we get a loop slice. So it will stay in that bracket and it won't move. So that's great for breakdowns. But again, same slice functions, we can adjust the parameters using the arrow back and forth. Like that. Okay, we'll change from the mellow vibes now. This is a quad-core processor, so that means not only is it like a platform to build on, out the gate it's got some what we'd call like DAW style features. The best way to do an example of that is our time stretching algorithm. Let's go for drum bass. Now what I'm going to do is start this at +20 on the pitch. Now bear in mind this is DAW style time stretching. So now take it back. Let's do +50. You see the waveform expanding there? So the bass is still intact, the still warm, the melodies are still coming through, there's no artifacts to speak of. You know, drum bass is a great example because you're doing quite an extreme shift there. And almost turned into this almost, you know, quite sort of mellow, spacious ambient thing going on. Now, yes, we can get really crazy, plus 100, and then be more sound design with our time stretching. But again, that's more of a crazy example. And again, the reason why we can do that is there's a quad-core processor on board, which is a platform to build on, but so many powerful things you can do out the gate. So, you can probably see this if you stand up and take a look, but it's probably coming through quite well on there. We've got our center platter display as well. So that's going to be album artwork, but for the more keen observers, you'll see this is actually the On The Rise logo. And that's actually very simple. So you can have custom DJ artwork, you know, anything you want, a 600 by 600 PNG file in the root directory of the stick, and it overrides the album artwork, essentially. So, love you On The Rise logo, just for Jay. Cool, cool, excellent. So what I want to do now is going to go back to the pad mode section again. So, I'm going to cue this track up here. So, you know, controllerism in terms of very kind of advanced cue point juggling and, you know, live remixing and so forth. It kind of either lives in, some people would say, you know, turntablism world, or just the controllers, that kind of thing. So, with this is the first time it's been implemented on a media player, which also leads nicely into how I'm going to do this, which is using the dual layer function. And you guys will be able to see this. At the back of the media players, there's two phono outputs, or two pairs of phono outputs. So here, we've got layer A and layer B running into the X800 mixer on 1 and 2. And on this second player here, we've got layer A and layer B on the X800 mixer 3 and 4. But also, you'll see there's a built-in network hub. We'll come on to that later. So, one thing I like to do with the dual layer function is a lot of, you know, live remixing and bringing in acapellas and things like that. What you essentially have is two media players in one, and it's almost a continuation of, some people might remember there was something called Alpha Tracks a while ago on some of the Denon players. It was a similar technology but based on CDs, so it's almost a, you know, continuation of it essentially. So, if I run off this track, bring the fader up on 1, and I've got another track running on the bottom, on layer B. So this is one player. One player. So what I'm doing there is loading a cappella onto layer B. So here we go, go through my crates, a cappella, and we'll go for this guy here. Pitch it up a bit. So, let's run off this cue point here. So again, cue point juggling on one player using 2 layers and bringing in, that's just one example, just cue point juggling, live remixing. When I first started using these units, I was just doing one set on one player. It is possible. And the way it practically implements those things is going back to this network hub in the back. So if I bring these layers up again. Is that good? 1, 2? Hey. Cheers, Joe. Cool. So, feel free to stand up if you can't see this or if it's not coming through well there. If I'm going to pop layer A on now, you'll see the platter is lit green. Now, if I go to shortcuts and hit this wheel colour, as I change the colour on the screen, you'll see it's changing on the platter as well. And not only is it changing on the platter, it's changing the cue colour as well. So let's say I want layer A to be red and layer B. Let's have that as yellow. You can see as well, I'll disengage a certain channel, the light goes off as well. And of course, a lot of people say to me like, oh, well, playing on one layer, that gets quite confusing. It's, these things are just designed to help you. It's just a way of, that muscle memory of kicking in. And also, with this Cat5 cable, networked in the back here, that's how they talk to each other in terms of the platter lights. But also, that's how we have our Engine Connect feature come to life, which basically we're clocking effects in terms of BPM and so forth. Well, let's let that track run again.
You guys got any questions at all so far?
Hello.
TV director, if you don't mind.
Get it right, get it right. Cool, cool. Okay, so I'll go over a few more features with you guys. Some of these will be quite familiar. Hello, kicking it out. So, loop modes. Classic encoder style here. So, quantize on. You see, just using the encoder, I can shorten loop values. But also, if I hit shift, I can move this loop bracket around the track. Which will be a familiar feature to some software DJs. And also, we've got manual loop in and out. Beat jump. Now, with the SC5000s, we can beat jump up to 64 bars, 64 beats, quantized, back to the track. It's a great way of searching. We're from deep house, guys. We want to move it along a bit. Any questions? Cool.
There is one question from someone on the live Facebook stream from Angela. He says, ranging from 1 to 10, how would you rate Denon DJ?
Well, I mean...
we'll take that as a firm 10, I think.
It's a great question, though.
Yeah, it is.
Great question, though, yeah. I mean, we'll answer that a bit more seriously. It's... part of doing this job and getting as many people to check this gear out as possible, it does blow a lot of people's minds that that something like this could exist in a media player, and these features are now in something that is potentially a viable, and we want to be a viable alternative. This is fully club standard. This is completely what we're aiming at, essentially.
Well, I think, obviously there's a huge platform of kit available for DJs that are out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of innovative products that are out there. And I think this is definitely a stamp for Denon for their, hashtag change your rider.
Yeah, absolutely,
I mean, I think, hashtag game changer as well. There's a lot of features in there that's just upped it. And for me, like, the winner is always going to be the DJs.
Yes.
Because now there's more choices for them, and it's facilitating that ability to be able to perform in a different way.
Yeah.
And they're now becoming more musical instruments than they are just something that's playing recorded music.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, even in touching onto that changeover rider, you know, at the gate with this, we had Paul Oakenfold, Laidback Luke, Tiesto and Oliver Heldens on board. And that's kind of the start of it, really. You know, these were people who were, you know, forward-thinking people who saw it and thought, this is exactly where I want the technology to go. You know, the whole idea of multi-touch, multi-gestural is completely part of modern life. As soon as people start to use the touch screen, in there is a moment where people go, okay, this may not be what I'm used to. As soon as this interaction starts happening, people's navigation to the player, it's picked up quite quickly. Cool. Okay, so now there's a couple of fail-safes built into this. I'll show you one of these. So this is going to tie in with integration now. So the media on these is actually hidden away. You'll see this later on. In the front we have an SD card slot and a USB slot, as well as 2 USB slots at the back as well. Now, that's great because traditionally they've been sort of here, you know, and we may have all been there, we may not have all been there, or dreaded being there if it gets knocked or, God forbid, stolen. So what I'm going to do now is I have 2 sticks in. I have a stick I prepared in Engine Prime at the front. At the back, I have a stick that I've actually prepared in Record Box. And I'm going to load the Record Box stick now. So if you guys see on the screen there, we now have playlists on a Record Box stick, on a Denon player, essentially. Now if I load a track, let's go with, yeah. What's actually happening now is that this is analysing the track on the fly. You may just be able to about to see it, but there's a waveform building on the bottom. And in about 10 to 15 seconds, this will then give full beat grid and all the analysis features. So there we go. So I've got my key, BPM, and full beat grid. Speaking of beat grid, if we do want to make some micro adjustments, we can hold down the select encoder and move the beat grid using the jog wheel. Just if we want to make some micro adjustments. And obviously if we're auto-analysing tracks that, you know, more break-based, non-quantized music, that can be a, you know, a lifesaver. So let's say, for example, I'm playing with a stick. And someone comes to the back and goes like this. It'll tell me the media's not been injected properly. And I'd say, okay, fair enough. I'd run after the guy who's stolen this, have a word with him, I'd come back, and that's still playing. So how that works is, you know, because the technology under the hood, the whole track is cached into the internal RAM, basically. But even more than that, you've still got access to that, and also beat jump, entire track. Now that analysis process I showed up as well, that's a one-time only process. Again, all cached into the stick, be it, you know, just a collection of tracks that you've just literally, in a hurry, just put onto a stick. It could be from Record Box. Obviously, Engine Prime software, analysis is done in the software itself. So when I plug this back in, hopefully I won't ruin the mic, Jay. Here we go, you'll be able to see this there. There we go. So I'll quickly go into some more deep dive features. All these preferences you see in our preference menu. Once you select, you know, things that are more preferable to yourself, such as the track end warning time, things like default loop size, if you want hotkeys to be a momentary finger drumming style, or, you know, track start kind of vibe. You see the option there, save to the drive. All those preferences then go onto the drive. If you come to someone else's, or a club's SC5000, all those preferences are straight into that player, essentially. Okay, now I'll move on to the X1800 mixer. So obviously, this is our companion mixer to the series. What we have is 4-channel. On each channel, we have line, digital, phono, DVS, and USB. There's also a dual USB as well. I'll start with the effects. That's round in view there. We have our filter, combined high and low pass. Now the resonance is user preference as well, from the utility menu. Filter resonance, I can actually take the bite off if I want a less of an energetic filter, essentially. Also got our dub echo, washout, noise and gate. And then you see there are a separate encoder on the bottom. So let's start with the dub echo. Bit of a classic. So one of Jay and Tez's favourites now, the washout. It almost emulates, obviously all these are post fader, so check the dub echo. The washout almost emulates that effect. Now, so it's one of those effects where if you want to catch a certain part of the song, it can change the effect. Catching a snare or a kick or a hi-hat or maybe a vocal chop. So it emulates almost a post fader. Not sure. Obviously, noise, gotta have it. And again, that's adjustable in our utility menu as well. The gate is an interesting effect. It's like a ducking compressor. Again, like with most effects, is how musical do you want to be with it. So what we'll do now is move on to our engine effects. And this is where again the Cat5 cable comes into play. These are all now clocked with the players. So let's beat jump back a little bit. I'll take this up to 8. I'll also say as well, this is the only player that's capable of rolling within a loop. And out. So, echo with a sweep. So things you would expect to see on the mixer. But what makes this different is you'll see we have this ribbon controller here with the value of 16 going down to 8. A great way to demonstrate this is using something like a phaser. So, we can use our traditional BPM, tap, off and on. Or we can use this ribbon. So, if I use this instant feature here, I can then tap a value, the effect is then engaged. And if I run my finger up and down it, so is the value changed. Also, the same effect can be adjusted using the effects time in a more traditional style as well. Again, we'll go with the flanger. Going from an 8 to 1. So now we'll go to more of the slightly more crazy effects. Let's get some more beat break action going. So I'm going to go back to my engine stick now. Go to my history. Get some breakbeat going. So now I'm going to show you something called beat break. So let's crank it on the max wet and dry now. So what beat break is, and again you'll be able to see this in more detail once you actually get hands on with this mixer. Once you engage beat break, there'll be 10 patterns of beat break available. There's also user editable parameters as well. So just an example of one. Let's go on a 4 on the floor vibe for this. So what it's doing is it's ducking each quarter note. So you probably might be able to see this on the screen. Again, it's one of those effects where if you catch a snare or a kick, the effect changes. And again, sweepable. Now you can deep dive even more in that. If we go to the utility menu, and go to our advanced audio section, you'll have something called effects edit, and you'll have beat break edit. And as you scroll down the screen, you'll see these blocks with the quarter notes represented. So I can then choose, let's say, a generic one, which is this pattern here, and input my own pattern very simply. So that's on beat break number 12. So now if I skip to beat break number 12, again, it's one of those kind of moment effects. Use it sparingly, or depending on what kind of guy you are, you can be quite extreme with it. Either you reserve it for a breakdown, or just some kind of crazy transition, you know. And again, it's all clocked. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once you do the more extreme examples, that's where it gets like... That could be those very much once in the set, you know. But the more reserved ones, you have this kind of triplet pattern here. Using the washout. Excellent. That's our beat break feature. Now with this mixer, these are software-based effects. So with each firmware update, we are able to add more effects into this mixer. So if I skip to this hall echo, with the double L's being the nod to laid back Luke, this mixer wasn't in the shipped version. With our first firmware update, we piped in 2 effects, this hall echo and a bit crusher, essentially. So again, a platform to build on. So the hall echo is quite crazy, actually. So with this mixer, we have each channel outputting on USB as well. So in all, it's a 10-channel USB mixer, basically. And that's including things like the layer function. So each layer can be recorded independently via USB into any kind of session. Pro Tools, Logic, whatever you want to do, basically. Any questions so far?
Don't be shy. Yeah. I need to get a few more beers, you know. You on my Facebook there? Okay, good.
He's running the show from there.
Nice, take it down there, man.
I mean, to go back to this importing of new effects, you know, we were able to add things like, you know, things on top of existing effects. So we've now got a freeze on the reverb. So if I go crazy on it, and when that shipped, that was just the reverb. But just with a simple firmware update, we can now add a freeze. So we have a slightly more conservative freeze, just by tapping effects time. So that. Each effect can be assigned to each the 1 and 4, the crossfader, the mic or the master. The microphone implementation, we have combi jack at the front and then 1/4 inch at the back, each with dedicated high and low and gain control as well. And obviously we have things like fader start and then split Q as well. So let's go back to that integration. So on this deck, I'm not running any USB sticks or anything like that. Now you'll be able to see, it looks a little bit different from this side here. Towards the end of last year, we had Serato announce their implementation for the SC5000 in control mode. So I'm running a Serato session here. Let's run a track down there. So you'll be able to see, we have a slightly different layout in standalone mode. Now the way this is integrating with Serato is, well, the way it can be integrated, obviously I'm using all my cables at the minute because this is standalone and Serato demonstration. This can be achieved with just 3 USB cables. So I have one USB running from this player, one USB running from this player, and then this functioning as the sound card. Now if I don't have the required ports, or I don't know, my hub isn't big enough or something like that, I can actually daisy chain these together. So if I'm running this, well, these two in Serato mode, and I've run out of ports, I can simply take in the USB cable, run the out to this one, and then they're daisy chained in control mode. So how we've implemented with Serato is, you'll see, we have the touchscreen enabled, we have crate browsing, track browsing, we have the encoder to select tracks. Needle search is still retained, as is time ascending and descending as well. Filtering is also there, so artist, track, BPM. Now the way the layer function works in Serato is essentially, rather than switching physical decks, for want of a better word, we're switching virtual decks. So I'll just stop that. And you'll see we have like this 1, 2, and 3, and 4 here. Again, all touch enabled. Switching through the virtual decks in Serato, or using the layer button. So if you're a bit crazy, you can do 4 decks in Serato on one player. And you'll see as well, it's actually retained the artwork from the track as well in Serato. The pad mode is fully Serato integrated as well. So let's start with cues again, imported at random or prepared beforehand. Loop mode, you'll see the pad is split here. We have a blue section and then this orange and red section. Let's get back through the track a bit. So, regular loop mode, the values changing using the pads, or again the parameter adjust. In roll and loop mode, the red and orange pads control the beat jump function in Serato. So using the orange pads, so I can see this on here, you won't be able to see this on there. You've got the value of the beat jump, ascending or descending. So if I take this up to 4 and use the red to go back and forth through the track, or I'll take it up to 32. It's a roll. Roll is also retained in Serato mode. And again, parameter adjust. Now if you press roll again, we then have Serato sampler. Slicer. Again, this is Serato's both slicer modes, loop and regular slicer. Again, parameter adjust. And loop mode 2. Once it's turned blue, we're in loop slice. So hardware that's been retained in Serato mode. We still have beat jump, just from the hardware. Loop mode from the encoder. Again, manual loop in and out. And I think you'd expect jog wind down. So that's Serato integration.
I've got a quick question, Matt, actually. So someone asked, Thomas has asked, basically he's asking, he can see that we're using the audio, analog audio, is the digital outputs from the SC5000 players, are the digital outputs?
There are digital outs, yeah. In total, in terms of outputs, we have, for the dual layer, 2 RCAs, and also digital out as well. And you'll see 2 USBs, and then SD and USB at the front as well. Which is good because that brings me on to one of the other fail-safes in this player. So I'll go back to standalone mode now. So again, God forbid this would happen. Someone comes along. Now you probably able to see this on the overhead as well. You see a little red warning light. Okay, so it's 5 seconds. So I'm going to pull this out now.
Do you know what though? This actually happened in the studio yesterday. We had a power cut and it went off and back on again. And that, like, instead of destroying your entire set, because that happens like at clubs and festivals and stuff like that, power switch on and off.
Why can't it be longer than 5 seconds?
Never enough.
It's never long enough,
The question is, why can't it be longer than 5 seconds? Yeah, no, but it's a good point.
Yeah.
With a battery or something that gives it a bit more juice, then why not?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Again, going back to the going back to how we can build on this, you know, having the Serato integration and then, you know, third-party integration as well. It's very much, there are still features in this that will become apparent as in future updates. So that could be something we could potentially explore in terms of prolonging that. But the reason why we have that window is what that's doing is it's safely ejecting the media. Because in most cases, if power goes out in terms of that sudden thing, you'll get corrupted. You potential exists to get corruption. That actually ejects the media without any, you know, anything. And again, go for it, man. Go for it.
If you're using USB sticks, you've got a fail-safe there because it has been happening that a lot of DJs come up, sorry, and you're still playing this there.
Yeah.
So you didn't see this part. You take off the USB. Oh, right.
Yeah. So, yeah. Same thing, yeah. So I'll do that again.
Carry on playing, or...
Yeah, I'll do that.
Right,
Yeah.
It saves it to the flash memory.
Yeah, I'll just demonstrate that again. So I'm on my front stick at the minute. Yeah. Yeah. I'll do it again because it's a cool feature anyway. So this is analysed track already. It'll tell you that the media's been ejected, and then you press OK, and you'll be able to see the waveform going along. The whole track. The whole track. Yeah. Like I say, I can find the guy who nicked it then. You know. And all those features are still available. Roll. Yeah. And even when you put it back in, it'll play nicely.
I got a question, Matt,
Go
from
for it,
Gary. He's asking about the durability of the units. He's saying that he's had Pioneer gear, and if buttons go or faders go, they've been fairly sort of easy to replace.
Mm-hmm.
What's the kind of deal with the Denon SC5000s and the mixer as well?
Yeah.
Obviously, the question is how durable are they, and replacing parts, like how does that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, Denon was always that. A lot of the heritage of Denon was the build quality. You guys, you'll see when you try this mixer, you pick it up, it feels exactly how it should. It's pitched to a club standard and it's built in that way. Now, there's no CD drive on these, but it's all metal construction. So if you think, okay, maybe that's not as heavy as, a particular media player, there's no CD drive in it, so mechanical part out of the way. They're all metal. And you've got a protective screen out the box. I peeled this off purely may have some OCD kind of thing. But yeah, these are all bolted down metal chassis. 100%. I mean, the mixer, yeah,
the mixer.
Don't drop it on your foot, essentially. So, yeah.
Just one more quick question from Thomas. He says, what's the max size of the hard drive controlling the SC5000? So I'm guessing he's saying what's the biggest hard drive you can actually plug into an SC5000 and it will read the tracks?
There's no limit on that. In terms of networking, there is a 2.4 gig limit on the network. Again, this will be something that we can also implement in terms of updating and extending that. In terms of things that have been carried over from player to player, which is artwork and things like that, across the network, currently it stands at 2.4 gig. As far as the actual drive, that's fine. If your players aren't networked, that's not a problem, basically. Any more questions from the floor? Yes, I'll turn you down.
About the files, FLAC.
Yes.
Yes, but FLAC for PC or FLAC for Mac is M4A.
Right. Okay.
And then USB, because I think I have some here.
Can
you check?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, while I grab this.
Yes, the format of the.
Yeah.
Any format, Mac, PC.
What I'm going to do is grab a list of the full supported formats by going to the box. So
here's one we made earlier.
We've got FLAC, LC, and WAV, but also don't lose your stick. We go just over here. There's a complete list actually. So in terms of file systems, in terms of USB stick, it's exFAT, FAT32. You would expect that. So we've got AAC, M4A, AIFF, ALC, FLAC, MP3, MP4, OGG, Vorbis, always fun to say, and then WAV, 44, 192, and then 16 to 32-bit as well.
Does it play vinyl?
We can certainly try. We can certainly try.
Well, the question is, how is it with the turntable or the DVA?
Yeah, there's DVS modes.
DVS mode.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Work properly?
Straight in, yeah, no trouble. Literally just a case of switch on the mixer like you would in your other mixer.
Because I have one Denon. It's a DMX 600. And it's good with what is the software? How possible native instrument.
Okay, right, yeah.
But the sound, the mixer, the sound of the mixer is no. It's good, but it's not the highest standard. like
Right, okay.
techniques,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, kit, and I would like to know if this mixer have a proper sound.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's a big part of the heritage of the company. You know,
Yes.
that was
I used to have one small analog. And
Yeah.
the sound was really good, but when Denon, and you don't remember what time, but they introduced for the digital, because before it was analog, the digital. For example, my mixer, I would like to know how is this mixer. But it's big for DJ mobile.
right. Okay, yeah,
To carry around.
yeah.
It's heavy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that it was it's a big part of the heritage. You know, Denon was always known as it was rugged
Japan.
and it was.
It's made in Japan.
Well, no, these are all this is made in Taiwan.
Taiwan,
Yeah.
okay.
Like I say, you know, that was a big part of the history from back in the day. It was always known as you're trading off 100 years plus of audio history with Denon, obviously with the hi-fi, and then going to the DJ side as well. So they're certainly not messing around in terms of that. Absolutely.
There's one question here from Robert. He says, is it possible to link either the mixer or the media player with the Ableton link?
Currently, in terms of Ableton, we do actually have a MIDI 5-pin DIN at the back in terms of sequencing and syncing with a DAW, or indeed you could have MPC or whatnot, that's certainly possible. But again, there's a lot of power under here, so there'll be some very exciting updates in the future in terms of especially things like Ableton Link.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. But for those who remember the 5-pin DIN, there's one there.
I think it's worth reiterating the fact that the last firmware update, or the one before last firmware update, came with two new.
Yeah.
I think it's worth reiterating that the one before last firmware update came with two new effects on the mixer, and that's possible across the entire range potentially.
Absolutely, I touched on that earlier. With the first firmware update, we gave two new effects with a simple just USB straight in sort of thing. And again, with the players, we, as powerful as they are, from my position, I know we're just scratching the surface with these, and there's a lot of potential. But again, something as easy as just in a firmware update, adding effects, and these could be just things that are either new implementations or just simple customer feedback. Could you put a freeze on the reverb? Yes, we can, because these are software effects. Your analog section here, and the digital effects here. Any more questions, Joe?
Gary just wanted to kind of reiterate about the repairs. I know you covered the build and stuff. He wasn't sure if it was your field, but if you did need to replace any of the faders or switches or whatever, how simple is that?
Well, the standard is a year warranty manufacturer. Here in the UK, obviously in music is, they have a UK base and more than willing to help anyone out with any technical, be it repair or any warranty issues. We have a dedicated team in-house in the UK that is there to help.
All right.
Basically.
Good.
Yeah. Good to know. So obviously later on what we want to do is I want to get as many of you guys just on these and just kind of experiencing the players. And again, I'm going to be here to answer as many questions as possible and get as much feedback as possible, basically. But right now, any questions from the floor?
Related to the Denon plan.
Related to the Denon plan.
I can see Andrew's dying to ask something about something completely unrelated.
What's your favourite show on Netflix?
Yes.
How much? Well, not even that. How much? Well, okay, let's say I get a pair of these, whatever. I mean, I play out pretty much all over the world.
Cool.
Where would you, where can motors buy these from?
Where would you see them, basically? Yeah.
Say?
Where there are a number of hire companies. There's 5 in the UK that take these on. There's a few in Europe as well.
So if they wanted my tech rider, I'm using Denons now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're covered in Europe and the UK. In terms of seeing it in the clubs, there's already Ministry of Sound has a set.
Okay.
A big part of the team and what we do is building on that. We have these amazing products, but having it as a club standard, we are in this for the long run. This is not some, we've built this great product and then we realise the work that needs to be done, you know, and we are filling all of those. We have a big team and we're very, very busy. Very, very busy.
I think it's worth just putting that out so that the question could be heard. Aston was asking if he was to change his rider, and if the whole ethos is hashtag change your rider, would these be available in clubs around the world? And you were saying that there's a possibility there that there's clubs already installing them, but there's also hire companies that DJs can get them from. Yeah,
absolutely. In particular, there's 5 in the UK that we work with. Absolutely. And again, that list of artists that I mentioned earlier, that's going to be growing the next year. So again, there's more to watch, and again, more updates. And what I'll do is quickly talk about Engine Prime, which is our music management.
Just quickly though, just while we're on that subject, if someone was to hashtag change their rider and they wanted it in their home studio, would you say that just having one unit and the mixer, if they just wanted they didn't want to splash out a hell of a lot of money, would you be able to perform an entire set on just one unit using the layers?
I did. Absolutely.
That's why I'm asking, because I did as well. The last night was the first time I've properly used 2 of the players, because I wanted to experiment with using just the one to play an entire set.
Well, when we, I believe it was the summer last year, we did a DJ Mag Tech panel. Some of you may have seen it. Myself and Paul DeCane, we did a tech panel on the Denons, and we went through obviously the whole product range. And then at the end of the night, and this was at DJ Mag HQ, I played out, essentially. And the way that was working was a lot of guys were kind of cramming around the booth and checking out the gear. And the way it kind of worked was I said, right, okay, everyone can come check out this one here. I'll DJ on this one here. And that was a good hour and 45 minutes. I was doing it on this. It's, once you realise the power that you have there, it's not just in case of, okay, look how fast you can cue point juggle, you know. Look how much you can implement in terms of finger drumming and things like that. The simple ethos of DJing can just be done using layer A and layer B. And I will say as well, even though this is our companion mixer, that layer feature is not specific to this mixer. We're talking about just phono outs here, so that can run with any mixer. But the system comes to life with our Engine Connect because of the inbuilt hub, essentially. They don't have to go out and buy a separate one. That's built into the unit itself. So yeah, it is totally possible.
So potentially you could get into like the kind of high-end media player game with just one unit and not even have the mixer, and then just build on your setup after that for your home studio.
I'm seeing a lot of the trends I'm seeing. There are people buying full rigs, people buying 2 players, 1 player and a mixer, 2 players and a mixer. The kind of entry into it as 1 player is completely feasible. When I first got the gear, I spent a month just doing a 1-deck set. And going, oh, it actually can be done. Also to say as well, in terms of the build, going back to maybe what Gary will be touching as well, this is a touch capacitive platter. This is not a mechanical platter. So again, we're taking features that people would maybe see present in controllers and bringing them to a media player. Yeah. Hey.
How does the 1-deck mix?
Yep, absolutely, yeah. So it's split output. You'll probably be able to see this here. So you see these 2 Neo cables here. We've got layer A and layer B. I'll quickly just do a thing here, yeah. So let's just grab one here. So I'll just run a track in. So in the absence of headphones, I'm just going to quickly match the 2 tracks.
So you just go 2 channels into it?
Literally, yeah. Split phono output, you've essentially got player 1, layer A and layer B, player 2, layer A and layer B.
So you really don't need 2 decks?
I mean, this is what me and Terry discovered.
This is what I'm saying. I've been playing sets of just one player. And I've been doing, and like you said, the traditional way of DJing, where you're just mixing one tune over the other. I've been doing tricks, laying samples. Because you're all on 1 deck, it almost saves you time from jumping between set, like with the 1 and 2 as well.
I think how I've been using them is that using the 2 layers to mix the tunes, and then for a radio show you can have the secondary layers for like radio idents or acapellas, tools, so you're not kind of, you know, you don't need full black. So one obviously is going to save you a hell of a lot of money having to buy 4 players, but also kind of retail space, you know, at home or wherever it may be as well. Yeah,
it's reserving that second layer for, you know, that example I did earlier was just key point juggling, whereas before that would have been maybe an extra piece of hardware. You know, that opens up so many possibilities. Just bringing in ideas from controllerism straight into a player. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And, you know, I did that Marvin Gaye thing, and that, you know, if anyone's around, you know, making music on S950s, you know, the reason a lot of that music sounded the way it did was because you had to pitch up those vocals to save space, you know. Using this DAW standard time stretching, it's pitching up without degrading it.
So you can just keep layers kind of looping once you do other stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%. The computer's so powerful underneath, there's no glitching, there's no lagging or anything like that. It's instant.
Yeah, it's one of those where, I mean, to give an example of Laid Back Luke, his setup is he has 1 player on the left using 2 layers, and then 2 players here using the single layer. And oftentimes he'll reserve the second layer for just literally just looping, you know, because he's very much a think on your feet kind of DJ, you know, pretty quick guy. So again, like effects, how musical do you want to be with that feature? You know, it's there to be exploited, 100%.
Scott?
Seems like I'm really impressed. Seems like a really versatile bit of kit in terms of software integration as well. So going forward, you've got any plans to integrate Infractor at all at the moment? In the pipeline?
I mean, there are a lot of things being talked about in terms of how we can progress the platform and integration and so forth. I would say, from what's under the hood, pretty much anything's possible. Watch this space, basically, you know. And again, how we can also take those features and even supercharge them some more, you know. So further integration, potentially. Keep on the lookout. Cool. So if anyone got any more questions?
Are you going to cover Engine Prime?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Cool.
Course,
just before we do that, so just to recap, we've got a couple of prizes to give away. One, a Denon pair of headphones, which these lucky chaps are going to win tonight. And also for those watching online via the live Facebook stream, we've got a lovely piece of paper here, and on here is written a number between 1 and 100. So all you got to do is drop a comment in there and guess that number. And if you guess that number, you get to win a custom Denon DJ sweatshirt. You get to choose the colour. You even get to choose the size as well.
Just to reiterate, this is the only one in the world.
There you go. So there's a number written on that piece of paper between 1 and 100. Get your comments in the live Facebook stream. There's also stickers as well. There you go. Plenty of stickers to go around. So if you can guess a number between 1 and 100, stick your comment in there, and a winner will be chosen. We'll give it, I think, 3 days, I think, so we can let the post live listeners get one in. So yeah, cool.
Cool,
back to you, mate.
Okay, cool. So Engine Prime. Now I mentioned earlier, these are running an embedded version of Engine Prime, so it's completely one-for-one for the software. And you'll be able to see this later. I'll have this set up, and you guys can come around and check it out. Everything you'd be familiar with in terms of cue points, naming cue points, etc. That's all, you know, on the software. So we just did a 1.1 update, which further kind of expands on the iTunes integration. So we can import from Serato, iTunes, and we added little nips and tucks in terms of playlist folders now on iTunes. Again, another platform to build on in a way. So with Engine Prime, how you see even simple things like the preferences menu is exactly how they look on here. And again, any changes you make in here will then be put on, passed to your stick and then imported and then back and forth as well. So if anyone wants to know any more about Engine Prime, I'll have this set up and we can go through it with any of you guys, essentially. Well, our current controller lineup, you guys might be familiar with. We have MC7000, 4000, 6000 and MCX 8000 as well. Yeah, in fact, the 7000 and the 8000 actually have standalone mixer capabilities. So they're fully Serato integrated controllers. In fact, the MCX 8000 is Serato and standalone USB as well, reserved on 2 channels. But that's our flagship Serato controller, that one.
At this moment in time, engine wasn't working.
Not at the moment, no. No. So we're talking full music management integration at this point with Engine Prime.
All right, any more questions, guys? No? Okay, all right, I think everyone's quite keen to...
Dogs need a rabbit.
Say what?
Is that a saying?
Dogs need a rabbit.
This is some kind of take me out vibe.
Yeah, just put the bread in the sink, mate. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm good at them. Don't people have a go?
Yeah, okay, all right. So we're going to cut off the live stream now. So thanks very much to Matt from Denon DJ. Thanks for all the guys for coming down. And yes, we will pick a competition winner in the next 2-3 days from the live Facebook stream. We need to do stick. Guess the number between 1 and 100. Very simple, nice and easy. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. And we're going to leave you now and have a little play on the Prime setup.